In this video, I'm going to show you how to configure Visual Studio to automatically clean your code. What's up? Here's Fullstack Dev, and today we are going to talk about configuring code styles in your project. You might wonder why this concept might be useful. Let me explain you. Imagine that you are working in a team with, let's say, 5 team members. All of you have different preferences about code style, about rules which you should stick to, camel case, Pascal case, braces, spaces, stubs, etc. Now imagine code review, when all 5 people yell at each other that the other person is doing it wrong. He should do it like that because he has read that blah blah blah. How a tremendous waste of time. If you have found yourself in a situation like that, you have to do one very important thing. Propose to create your team code styles. Code styles is a configuration of your code writing preferences. It is very easy to set up and it's available in all modern code editors like Visual Studio or Rider. Now, with Visual Studio 2019, you can export the editorconfig file, which works like generic file for code style rules for all IDEs. So without further ado, let's begin. I'm using Visual Studio 2019 version and I really appreciate how great improvements guys from Microsoft did. Right now, the default configuration of code style is really good. To be honest, I haven't changed anything inside of it, but I will start with showing you how it looks. So for those of you who are using older versions of Visual Studio, you can look what kind of settings I'm using on my daily basis. I'll be using those code styles in my future projects also. Okay, you can find all the settings inside Tools, then Options. Here, you can jump into Text Editor and then C#. We'll go to the Code Style section. I will quickly describe what options are here available and what are my preferences. Starting with this keyword. I don't want to have it in my code, it is really unnecessary. Here is the Types section. I have selected Prefer Predefined Type because in my opinion it makes code more cleaner. Always use var keyword instead of explicit type. Yeah, I think that's pretty reasonable. Here is an interesting one. Preferring braces in, for example, one statement if. I selected these options because it makes code more readable. Jumping to the next one, parentheses preferences. I would like to remove all unnecessary code. And then this big section, expression preferences. I won't go through all of them because it might take some time, so I will just scroll slowly through all of them and you can pause the video and see my selection whenever you want. Here, in the formatting section, you can also find interesting options. You can, for example, adjust auto-formatting in General tab, or set indentations, spacing settings, wrapping, and so on. A lot of cool stuff to review before starting a new project. In the naming section, you can also set up naming preferences for code elements. If you are working on Visual Studio 2017 version, you will see in the General tab a special section for configuring code cleanup preferences. You have to select all options to automatically apply your code preferences on Ctrl+K+D keystroke combination. In Visual Studio 2019, all of those settings has been moved to the bottom menu and it is called Configure Code Cleanup. You can specify different profiles and here is my default one. In 2019 version, the key combination is now Ctrl+K+E, but it works exactly in the same way. Okay, so let's do some math in this code. I will add some unused references, create if statement without braces, declare variable as integer, not with var keyword, and maybe some wrong tabulators here. Okay, now click Ctrl plus K plus E, and here it is. My code is cleaned. So now, when you know how powerful changes we can do with one keystroke, let's think how we can reuse it. It is this situation when you want to share that with your teammates. Overall, it will be really stupid to show your screen and let your teammates copy settings manually. Guys from Microsoft thought about it and created two possible ways of sharing your code styles. Let's start with the first one, creating vssettings file. This file can be reused across all developers using Visual Studio. It contains all code style settings that I have mentioned during this video. It is very easy to create and import. All you have to do after configuring your code styles is just to go to the Tools menu, then Import and Export Settings. Here you click the first option for export. All you have to choose is Options, then Text Editor, and then mark C# and C# Editor. After that, just select name of this file and specify localization. And that's it! If you want to import already created settings, you have to go to the same menu inside Tools section. Here, select Import Options, and in this menu you have to be careful. If you click Browse here, you are not specifying the location of new code styles file, but you are saving your actual settings. So if you won't save your existing settings, just click No. In this window, you have to click Browse and select File, then go to Next and Finish. Here it is, very easy to unify code styles across your team. Okay, let me describe you the second method. It is more universal because one file can be used by many different IDEs like Visual Studio or Rider. This file is called editorconfig. It can be created manually, just empty file name with .editorconfig extension, but Visual Studio 2019 gives us possibility to create editorconfig file based on our settings. It can be found in Code Style Options inside the General tab. Here you can find Generate Editor Config File button. Just click it and select the localization of file. Now you can use it. You have to click on your project and add existing item. Select Editor Config File and that's all. Important is that Editor Config settings overrides your personal one. Let me show you. Let's find a setting for braces in one line if statement. Okay, here it is. Let's remove them. But first, open error list window. After removing braces, you will see a suggestion to add them. It's because the editor config file and also my own configuration have it as suggestion. So I will go back to the editor config file and change these settings to a warning. Yeah, you see it, it works. Okay, so that's all about editor config. I think that it is more useful than vssettings file because of the reusability across many platforms. I hope you have enjoyed this video and learned cool stuff that might be useful in the future. Thank you for watching and don't hesitate to subscribe.